For the best film breakdowns, scouting reports for the NFL and or boxing, follow AKOYE Media on YouTube and or Facebook. You can also follow me individually on Instagram just to see how I do it, what it is that I do at IAM_AKOYE. And remember, AKOYE stands for accumulated knowledge over years of experience. So tune in and let's learn something together.
First and foremost, man, thank you for joining in, man. It's a pleasure talking to you all, as always. But go ahead and let them know who you are, where you're from, and what's your name and why you inspired to do this, man.
My name's Darius Coit, but most of you guys probably know me as AKOYE Media. That's AKOYE, accumulated knowledge over years of experience. It's a long story how we came up with that name, but also just wanted to let you know, man, I appreciate you for bringing me on. I've been an admirer of your show for quite some time, man, and you definitely have been giving nothing but the best since I've seen it. So, definitely appreciate it, and it's a humbling experience to even talk to you, bro. But as far as starting this up, I've been doing this for about 2-3 months, man, and I've been going heavy since then, and it's been an experience. It's been a ride, and I appreciate all the love and even the hate that I get on here at times on YouTube. You know how that go, but definitely enjoying the ride.
Yes, indeed, man. I just want to put this out here, man. Just because somebody have different opinions and different viewpoints or different thoughts on a player doesn't mean that the person have to hate the opposition or dislike
Not
the
at
person.
all.
And I always say this, those convinced against their will is of the same opinion still. I mean, everybody got to stand on it. I'm from old school, man. Every tub must stand on its own bottom. And I respect those who out there who putting film out there. It is remarkable because it's not many that really do film breakdown, film sessions, or even just try to have the talk track back and forth about film. And especially being a passionate Cowboys guy like me, I know I've been saying since 95, 96 that the Cowboys will win the Super Bowl this year and this sort of thing. But what you want us to say? You know what I mean?
Right. What we supposed to say? We're gonna lose every year.
Right. Like,
I live in Philly, so the Eagles fans been saying they're gonna win the Super Bowl since I was a kid. They've been saying that for 35 years since I've been alive.
Heck yeah. So hey, that's just how it goes, man. We just gotta stay in tune, stay watching film, stay getting ready, man. And that's what's going on, man. Right now is it's time for us to step it up as far as the Cowboys Nation. In order for us to do that, AKOYE, look, we was 8th ranked overall in defense, right?
Right.
What can we do in order to get top 1, top 2, top 3, maybe top 4 or 5 to make an imprint on this Cowboys Nation as far as this Cowboys?
Honestly, man, and it might sound like a crazy answer, but I think we've already done it, believe it or not. And I think the moves that we made in free agency, one being signing and shoring up our holes. So we had a hole at offensive line, so whether it be guard or tackle, depending on where Liel winds up playing, I think he's better at guard. You might think differently, but shoring up the offensive line with Cam Fleming and Marcus Martin, we went and got a guard and a swing tackle that can play either tackle position or guard. And I think that kind of shores up our offensive line. Watching the film of those two guys, I think that they're no Martin and Fredericks or even Smith for that matter. But I think just adding that one piece allows us to say, hey, we don't really need help on the offensive line right now, so we don't have to make that move in the first round now. Then we had we need a receiver help. You got 7 receivers on the roster right now that are serviceable. Around Dez. So we really don't need to jump out there. We're still probably going to pick one up, but we don't have to do it in the early rounds. Then you also have Alawale. I love this kid. He creates a lot of mismatches even in the I formation. So, he's a flexible guy. So just offensively, I think we shored up enough around Dak, especially just protecting them, where, we were still putting up 30 points before Zeke went out last year. So, I think our offense is there. and it allows us to just go in the first 3-4 picks. We can go straight defense. So I think that the moves we made in the offseason offensively allow us to go defense in the draft, and then bringing in the things off field really help more so as well. Like Chris Richard, I think him bringing in, we run a cover 2, but we really have the personnel and the players for a cover 1 man-to-man type of scheme. So I think bringing in Chris Richard and allowing us to, allowing him to really reformulate this secondary helps this defense out tremendously. And I think we go hard at the linebacker position in the draft. And I'm thinking like I love the kid Rashawn Smith from Georgia. I love that kid. He nice. He reminds me of Hitchens, just a little faster and more athletic. He a thumper, and I like that. And I think that's what we need in the middle. And going after Joe Thomas as well. Like we have 2 guys. If we draft a middle linebacker, we'd have 2 guys that can play that middle position. And I actually think Smith and Lee, you already know Lee is better outside, and I think Smith is actually better on that strong side as well. They've already decided to move him there. So really, we're just talking secondary. You have to keep in mind last year, Irving didn't play for the first 4 games. We have him hopefully healthy for a full season. He had 7 sacks and didn't play a full season, but he came on strong. I think putting him next to, I'm talking about a lot of different things too. So just let me know if you want me to like zero in on one thing. But
no, you cool, man. Like the other side of the pillar, man. We get this thing going.
No problem. But I think putting him next to D-Law when he came back kind of slowed D-Law down. If you pay attention to D-Law's production, in the first 4 games, D-Law had 7.5 sacks in 4 games. Then he had 7 sacks in the rest of the season after Irving came back. And I think that's because D-Law was benefiting from the selflessness of Collins being next to him. Collins will jump on stunts and take out 2 guys, take out the right tackle and the right guard. He'd take them both out. And then D-Law come right back in the middle of that field or come right around. He only playing half a man because if Collins is really defensive holding, but if he grabs that inside shoulder of that right tackle, now D-Law only got to do a move on half a man instead of playing the man square up. And that was happening on film throughout the entire first 4 games of the season. And then when Irvin came back, Irvin's a good pass rusher, so he just go for what he know. He ain't trying to help nobody. He just trying to get there. And I ain't hating on the brother for that. But I think if we move those 2 apart, so you put Irvin either side, they both can play either side. You put Irvin on the outside. We keep Crawford, who's more of a tackle than he is a end anyway. Put Crawford in there alongside Collins. Both of those guys are selfless players and they hustlers. If they're both playing, they're both freeing up Irvin and Law to go after the ball like nobody's business. So I think with those 4 starting right now, we got the front 4 that we need. And then all the depth we got back behind them at end, I think we would only have to draft maybe 1 more defensive tackle. I don't think we need any more ends. And that's with I like the kid Tapper. Tapper got a quick first step. He just got to stay on the field. But his first step is mean. Taco is strong. He's more of a left end. He's better in run support than he is a pass rushing. But I like him. His size, I think he'll, if he learned 1 or 2 more moves, he only got a first move. He don't have that second move, third move. He don't have nothing else to go to.
Hey, it's like playing spades. He got 2 in the possible. Probably 1 in the possible. The spin move. He got the spin. He got to throw the spin out there.
Yeah, he ain't got none of that. He don't got no second spin off or nothing off his first step. That's it. Well, if he don't beat you with that, he's not gonna beat you. So I think he work on that, and when we get a Charles Tapper healthy, we got 2 guys that can back those guys up. And then Rob Marinelli, I think taking some of that responsibility off of him and letting him focus on what he's good at, which is developing defensive linemen. That's his claim to fame. I think him teamed up with Chris Richard creates a dynamic that's just dangerous for any team that's coming up against a team that's already ranked 8, and then we already know moving Byron Jones. A lot of people don't like it. And they say he don't have the hip flexing, and he doesn't. He got tight hips. I won't lie. But so does Aqib Talib. So did Tyler Law. So does Richard Sherman.
Richard Sherman. I know you were gonna say it. Yeah.
Those big guys with tight hips. They not quick, shifty guys like Lewis. But the thing about them is they play better against big receivers. So you just have a guy that can take out big receivers, and he already proved that because a feisty guy that want a hand fight with Byron Jones is not going to hit harder than those tight ends been hitting him for the last 3-4 years. So they're not going to be able to do much with him, you know. So
I got two things I want to bring up. The Randy Gregory. We'd be remiss to add Randy Gregory into the mix. Is any hope, any promises, or what you just want to see?
You know something? I think Randy Gregory plays again. I just don't think they want to talk about it much. But I think he plays again. He's been getting his life together. But I think that's more so off the field without playing to Roger Goodell too early. I think he's doing everything off the field and off camera to show that he's really trying to get his life together so that when he does come for a reinstatement, it doesn't get denied. He could have got reinstated, I think, back in November, but he hasn't done anything yet. You know, and I think that's because he's really trying to show that, hey, he really is, you know, a changed man. And I hope so, because his bend is like nobody's business. He get under you quickly. He fast too.
Yes, indeed.
And honestly, another name that comes up who I think gets reinstated this year is Aldon Smith. He's a type of player that Jerry Jones will go after. One of those guys. His character issue isn't so flawed that like a Hardy that you don't really want him on your team. You know, he's dealing with alcoholism. That disease can hurt anybody. You know what I mean? So I don't think his character flaw is so far gone that we wouldn't touch him. You know, Aldon Smith, if he comes back and we can get the rights to him, that's another player. That's another Jerry Jones type project. You know, he likes those types of players.
Hey, I won't be mad at it, man. Defense wins what? Championships, right?
You already know. And so, I know we get that. And he coming at Jerry's price too, which is bargain Sundays. You know,
bargain Sundays. Yeah. Yes, indeed. So I wanted to bring up this point. You brought out the fact that about the Rob Marinelli. He's good on the front line, and Chris Richards is very good out there in the secondary. But Chris Richards' claim to fame was his cover 3 scheme. Can you break down the difference between a cover 3 scheme versus the Tampa 2 or the cover 2? Will that be too much to overhaul, or would that be too much for Chris Richards to
I don't
implement?
think so. And I think the reason we can do it, well, either way, like if we would have kept Byron Jones roaming at the free, he can go sideline to sideline because of that 4-3 speed. So if we would have kept him out there, even if we rotate him out there in certain packages, that's fine. But I really would like to see him primarily at corner. The difference between the cover 2 and the cover 3, it depends. Like the 2 high safeties, I don't think we need, because we have the corner play underneath where I don't mind leaving Jordan by himself a play or 2. You know, you're not going to do it every play. You know, I don't mind leaving him out there a play or 2. I don't mind leaving Cheeto out there by himself. I don't mind leaving Byron Jones out there by himself on a bigger receiver. So I'm not afraid to run that cover 3 scheme and bring down that safety down in the box more and have him roam that 10 to 15 yards off the ball like Cam Chancellor, because that allows us to use the talents of players that we haven't been using in a while, and that's that hard-hitting box safety. You remember
Frazier,
what we did with Wilcox? We took Wilcox and we threw him out in space and said, hey, you can't play. Wilcox is a box safety. You know, we took Roy Williams and said, hey, you can't cover, because you remember we went from having Zimmer, who used to run those zero coverage defenses where your corners had to cover and your safeties just roamed the middle of the field, did what they wanted to do. Sort of like Troy Polamalu, they just roamed and did whatever and wreak havoc. Roy played his best games under Zimmer. As he got into that 3-4 where they pushed him 20 yards off the ball, he was in space. And then now the linebackers were required to patrol the middle of the field, so he got pushed out on Shockey and on tight ends out on the perimeter. That's not his game, you know. So he kind of got pushed out of Dallas because of that, and we went away from having a true box safety that actually got playing time since then. And now I think with Rashard, we can get back to that where we can kind of scare people again. Think about it. Since Roy, you haven't had real safeties that scare you, and we had them on the team. We just haven't used them in that way, because Barry Church would knock your head off, and so would Wilcox when they were here. But they were always, you know, 20 yards off the ball playing deep man over and over again. And
that's one thing.
Deep zone.
You brought up my guy Zimmer. And that's one thing people fail to realize. Last year, believe it or not, they just laid an egg against the Philly, whatever you want to call them, filthy. I'm sorry about that. It just comes out that way.
I agree with you, man.
You guys know how it goes. You know, I just can't say the word. I break out in hives. Filthy. But the thing is, the Minnesota Vikings, they were the #1 defense last year, and they do play a cover 2 scheme. But the difference between their cover 2 is that their guys, man, Zim, he trusts his guys, or was it his son pretty much running the defense? And I've seen them, they played up tight, they played exotic blitzes, and they trust their safeties to be where they needed to be at on the ball.
The safety is the linchpin of Zimmer's safety and defensive line is his linchpin. You know, his linebackers are left to they look better than they actually are. And I don't mean they're trash. I like Barr, you know, and I like the other kid, I don't remember his name right offhand.
But I like Barr too. Barr. Now I'm not trying to wish injury on anybody, but Barr took out the golden arm. What's this guy name? Aaron Rodgers, man.
And it was clean too. It was clean. It was clean. I like that hit. That was clean.
Yeah.
But you know, I like his linebackers. But you ever notice, like when he was playing with us, we had Dak Wynn, we had Dexter Coakley, and we had Brady James. Our linebackers were good. They weren't great. But our safeties, corners, and our defensive line was his claim to fame. That's the same thing right now. His defensive line is no joke, you know, and then his corners, they all can flat out play man. We still got Terrence Newman over there with Wills too, you know, so his corners can flat out cover, all of them. They can just cover. So
and let me just put this out there. Yeah, let me put this out there for all those who are going to watch this and say, well, you know, well, why didn't Zimmer stay? Zimmer was never handpicked by Parcells. Parcells didn't really agree with Zimmer. I think Parcells was on the table saying that he wanted to switch over to a 3-4, right? And I think they did. They still played a 3-4 with Zim, and he really wasn't a 3-4 guy, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, he didn't want to run that 3-4, so he was running it like a 4-3 anyway. So I think Parcells the type of guy, he said it himself, you know, if you want me to make the meal, let me buy the groceries. So he was really that type of guy. So I think it was a difference of philosophy, because Zim went right over to Cincinnati, took Roy over there, and he just, you know, he had the same style defense. Cincinnati's still running his scheme over there now, you know, and now he over in Minnesota wreaking havoc. So I think, you know, his style, his scheme has stood the test of time. So, you know, I love it. Chris Richard, you know, just swinging back to him, I think us having 3 corners that can flat out play man. And then you have a swing guy in Woods who can play, you know, he can blitz, he can play zone very well, and short zone, he can play that very well. He's a good instinctive guy. So I think having him as that, you know, he kind of reminds me of, and he might be better than this guy, but I think his name is Dwight Lowry. Remember this kid? He was a corner, kind of played safety too. He played for the Jags, he played for New England, he played for a couple teams. He was just like a journeyman. And I think Woods might have a better career, but you know, Woods can be moved all over the place, and he's an instinctive guy more so than a straight covered guy. You know, he's not a guy that can just flat out, I'm just going to cover you and I'm going to shut you down. But he's a guy that can, you know, gamble at times and make plays, and I like him. So having him as our 4th corner is great, and a backup free safety because he can roam the middle of the field single high. And I think having Heath right now start single as that single high free safety, he showed he can get sideline to sideline, and his strength is actually deep coverage because he got wheels. He's not like your box guy that you want laying the boom every play, because he's not that guy. He can hit, sometimes takes bad angles to the ball. So, you know, him having time to kind of adjust, stop his feet, and see where the ball's going from far back, I think is better for him. And bringing Frazier down in that box and letting him start, not giving him too much responsibility as far as coverage, and just say, hey, listen, from hash mark to hash mark, 10 yards to 15 yards off the ball, that's you. Nobody else dealing with that. Hash mark to hash mark, 10 to 15 yards off the ball, that's your zone. You know, you put Frazier right there. You notice Cam Chancellor, nobody ever says the same things they say about Roy Williams about Cam Chancellor. He can't cover. And Cam Chancellor is not a guy you're going to keep putting on the island to cover either. But you never see that because the scheme protects him from having to deal with that. You know, he don't have to do any of that. All he had to do is do what Cam do, which is stay 10 to 15 yards off the ball and hit hard on them in-breaking routes. Hit hard and clean on them. That's it. Yeah. That's his job.
And I know a lot of people fail to realize this. That means a lot. And even when we had J.J. Wilcox, go back and watch the interview of 2016 Steve Smith. He said that guy J.J. Wilcox can hit, you know, and I never forget, it was a play that Steve Smith was open across the middle, and he kind of winced a little bit, because he knew that J.J. Wilcox was coming to hit him. So that plays a major role when you have somebody that can put a hat down on you.
Think about it.
Mm-hmm.
Two third downs a game. That's all you got to take away. Two third downs where a guy alligator arms it or he gets the ball jarred loose. That's it. That's your job right there. You don't even got to get interceptions. Just stop 2 or 3 third downs every single game, and we leave it up to everybody else to do their job. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I agree with you. And remember, speaking of J.J. Wilcox, you remember the hit that he put on Odell first game of the season, I think 2 years ago. Odell came across the middle. He knocked his ear hole out. You know, he hurt. So
he said, "Mama, I'm gonna check out, Mama. I don't want to go back in." You like, you talking to a trainer? You ain't talking to your mama. Man, that's what hitting does, man. And people fail to realize. Look, we from the older school of football with the small guys that hit you like a Merton Hanks, and they show off with the little head shaking, Steve Atwaters, you know. You remember that. And I only remember because it used to be a big rivalry against my boys. And we had the Brock Marions. You remember Brock Marion? Because I almost cried when we got rid of him and he went over to Miami. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. So, Ronnie Lott, you know, that's like when I was really young.
I know now. If you're a real Cowboys fan, I know you remember this guy, man. In the playoffs, I don't know what happened to this dude because he actually was the reason I started liking the Cowboys when I was a kid. Scott Case, you remember that kid? He's a white boy. I think he wore number 25. His name was Scott. Google him, Scott Case. He played in the Super Bowl, but Ernie Mills from the Pittsburgh Steelers, I think he laid him out. But Scott Case used to lay people out, man. He was like the counterpart to Bill Bates. He was like the new and improved Bill Bates. And now I think Heath is like that now. But this dude named Scott Case, I remembered his name because he was just that guy, man. He come down and he lights you up. But I don't think he only played maybe 1 or 2 years for us anyway. But nobody really remember this kid, like Scott Case. Remember, just Google that name when you get time.
Man, I definitely will, man. I probably was so young. I was just probably like, hey, man, this guy knocking people out, Mama. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Come on, watch this football game with me, Mama.
Whenever I saw somebody hurt somebody, I was just like, that was my thing in football, man. I like to hit. So it was like, whenever I seen somebody who could hit, I loved it, man. You know, like the Greg Lloyds of the world. I like those type guys where they just play nasty.
Kevin Green, a whole bunch of guys, you know.
Yeah, those type dudes. I love it.
Well, let me ask you this: Tecmo Bowl or Madden?
Oh man, well today or back then?
Back in the day, you know.
Oh, it was Tecmo Bowl all day.
Tecmo Bowl all day.
Tecmo Bowl was my thing. Now, you know, you got to say, with them graphics, you can't even go against Madden now. But back then, it was Tecmo Bowl all day, man. I used to think I thought I was 22 when I was young, man.
And when Madden came out, what was the other game? I want to say NFL, EA. It was Madden counterpart, but then Madden bought the rights, and they couldn't put the logo on the player.
I remember what you're talking about. You had Blitz. NFL Blitz. That was one. And there was another one. I forget what the other one was.
It's at the tip of my tongue, man. They made a basketball game too, and it was real good, man. And my brother used to play with Madden. When he started playing with this guy named Michael Vick, I told him, "Look, man, you can't play with running quarterbacks no more, man. That's cheating, man."
Right.
But that's all off the topic, man. But I was just saying, man, look, man, these running quarterbacks, because you can just run all the way back and avoid the sack and then just throw the ball 100 yards. It used to be crazy, man.
That was corny, yeah. They fixed those glitches, though. You can't do that no more.
You can't do it no more. You got to methodically move the ball down the field. And speaking of methodically moving the ball down the field, with this defense, if you're saying we got the pieces in place, with the 19th overall pick, who would you rather for them to pull the trigger on?
Honestly, it depends on what happens underneath us, obviously. But I think the top 3 picks, in my opinion, Vita Vea, if he's there, you know, you go after him just because of how disruptive he is. I think he's another Geno Smith type player. You know, one of those guys are Ndamukong Suh types. He's high energy for a big guy, and I think a lot of them Samoans are like that. Not trying to be racial at all, but I just really respect their culture. They all can hit and they all can run, no matter what size, and they all strong. No matter.
And they love that number 55, man. Salute to y'all, man.
Yeah.
Shout out to Junior.
He was a beast too. Yeah, so you already know. Like, so I think Vita Vea he's high up on the radar. Like I said, Rashawn Smith, if he winds up at 19, I think we take him. Georgia, that middle linebacker. I know people start talking about Calvin Ridley. I don't think we got to jump out there with Calvin Ridley first round, because you got DJ Moore who probably slipped to the second round. I think we'd be more than happy to take him or any other developmental fast receiver in that second, third round. I don't think that's too late to take one. So again, I think Vita Vea, Rashawn Smith, or any other top tier linebacker that's there at 19, I'd take. That's where I would go with it. I wouldn't jump out there offensively, honestly, because I think offensively we've already proven like we have even if you don't add any Hearns to the team or no Deontay Thomas, even when you say, hey, Dak had a bad year, the offensive line had a bad year. Okay, until Tyron Smith went out and Zeke got suspended, we were still averaging with this same team 30 points a game. So we've already proven the offense just has some things that need to be reassured. It's not a gaping hole in the offense at all. We know our scheme. I think they need to get a little more creative. And how do you think about this? I think, I know you just asked about defense, but offensively, I think the issue that we had was this. If you have Cole Beasley out on the field and you have Terrence Williams on the field at the same time with Dez, because people say, why don't they move Dez around? And I don't really hate our coaching staff or Linehan, because you got to give them some credit. If you put Dez in the slot, they're still going to key in on Dez the same way they did on the perimeter, because nobody's afraid of Cole Beasley on the perimeter. They're not afraid of him out there. So you pick Cole Beasley out on the perimeter, they'll single him up, no problem out there. He's only good in the slot. That's where he can play. If you take Terrence Williams, can't really move around at all. He can only play outside. You know what I'm saying? So far, he hasn't proven to be able to be a slot guy. So I think the additions that we've added, and you have a guy that can take the top off of it, that allows you to move Dez around more if you take in packages where you remove Cole Beasley from that package. So if you have a Hearns Williams or Hearns Thompson out there, Thompson is a deep threat, and you can have Hearns and Bryant. I'm sorry, Hearns, Bryant, and Thompson out there, not Hearns. But Hearns, Bryant, Thompson out there. Both those guys, all three of those guys are interchangeable. You can move them around. So a defense can't really key in on anybody. I don't like Hearns' speed or route running, but I think last year they said he was playing through a couple of injuries, so I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt. But even when I went back and looked at his 2015 film, he, and I don't like to say anything bad about any of the Cowboys, but I'm non-biased and let the film talk. And I know you've noticed, like he's if you say Dez don't separate, Hearns don't separate at all. Like that dude don't get open. He's a good zone. He's a zone buster though. He'll get in the middle of the pockets of the zone and break you up. But if you play flat out man on him, you're gonna throw a tight window throw, or you're not getting it to him at all.
Yes, indeed. So yeah, people gotta understand that too as well. Hearns, and I call Hearns a poor man's Jarvis Landry, or a poor man's Dez in some fashion. So Now that's just the honor. That's what the film says. And if you see something different, let me know. But
I actually agree. I give Dez credit for the fact that again, I was listening to a Tony Romo interview from I think Monday. He was talking on the Fan 105 the Fan, I think. But I'm not sure what channel it was on. But he was talking about the fact that if you throw the ball 3 feet above Dez's head, he still believes there's nobody else in the world that can go get that the way Dez go gets it. So there's another element to Dez's game when he doesn't get open. Whereas with when he gets the ball in his hands, he's not I'm gonna catch the ball and lay down type of guy. Hearns is more so the big plays that he's made is when a guy extends and tries to swat a ball down and doesn't really get it, and then he catches it and there's nobody else there, or a guy's supposed to lay a boom on him and misses or whiffs on the tackle and he wound up making a play. But he's not a guy that's just gonna manhandle you when he get the ball in his hand. He's gonna lay down. So those things kind of take me like route running. You're right. Like as far as crisp routes, he's not a crisp route guy either. He run with his shoulders sort of like this. So I see where the comparisons come from. But he just don't have those extra elements to his game that makes it so that that's okay.
Yes, indeed. So
that's why the comparisons are there. But I still would give Dez
I think I'm losing you, man. It went in and out. So, but to piggyback off that, and are you still there?
Yeah, can you see me?
Yeah, man, it's fuzzy now. I really believe, you know, and T. Will, he's cool, but the fact that he got a broken fifth metatarsal, I think that's how you say it. I don't know how to say the word, what have you.
Yeah, I think it sounded good. You sound like Doogie Howser on that one.
Right. But when that foot is broken, they said not 4 weeks, 4 to 6 months.
Wow,
That's a long time, man, and you can't rush back that. That's the same injury that that the guy had, Hicks had, Julio Jones had, and also your guy Dez Bryant had. And we know that Dez Bryant physically, as athletically, is superior of T. Will.
Yeah.
And when you have that type of injury, and I'm not trying to throw salt at T. Will.
Oh no.
It may be one of those situations where maybe it's the rain is setting on his parade. If you put in a Deontay Thompson, if you put in an Allen Hurns, and if you maybe squeeze in maybe one of the other guys that we might draft, because they did bring in Christian Kirk in for a good look, you know.
Right.
Maybe they looking at it from the aspect we can draft defense first, get a Christian Kirk, maybe part ways with maybe keep T. Will for next year because you don't want to eat the $3 to $4 million dead money.
What they gonna do?
Trade Beasley?
Yeah, what they gonna do with T. Will is most likely he probably start the season on reserve, that foot, you know, or a pup list, so that we can get that exemption for the first 6 or 7 games, or maybe 8 games, and then I don't see us. You know, it's not worth the $1 million that we save, or $1.5 million that we save cutting Beasley. But I think he has trade value because we have a younger, bigger, faster Beasley on the team already. And not disrespecting Beasley at all, but I think him and Switzer's game are similar. And I think that's actually what they brought Switzer in for, is to, you know, at some point replace Beasley in the first place. So I think there's some trade value there. I don't see them getting rid of the young guys like Noah Brown. I don't see them getting rid of Switzer. So out of that 7, you know, 2 of those guys not playing, especially if we draft one. 2 of those guys not playing. I think right now our guys out are T. Will and Beasley. And I hate to say it, but that's the truth. You don't sign a Thompson, you don't sign a Hurns to put them on the practice squad. That's not why they signed them in the free agency.
And you can educate me on this. I think that injury reserve pup list, it doesn't go against your active 53-man roster or anything like that, right?
Exactly. You get that exemption, so they can still travel with the team and all. On the pup list, they can't. In the reserve, I believe they can for the first. If there's 2 they just changed it 2 years ago. Where
what was Tony Romes on one of those things? Was that what he was on?
Yeah,
it's 2015.
Like you have one reserve where it's like automatically you're disqualified for the entire year. And you have another where there's after 8 weeks you can qualify to come back, and then there's another where you after the end of the season or after week 12 or something like that, you can qualify to come back after that as well. So I'm not sure which one they'll use on T. Will. I don't think they'll use an entire year on him, but I think they're gonna start him off at least the first 6 or the first 8 games. He's not gonna be suiting up, and then even after that, he's trade bait. Most likely, if they can get him back before week 8, he's trade bait. But they got to put some product on the field before they can trade him. So I don't see T. Will going anywhere this year, but I don't see him playing either.
Let me ask you this: did they? And I'm going back to see what other teams done did, because you know they wasn't going to touch Julio, and you know they wasn't going to trade Dez at the time when he broke his foot. But did they trade Hicks to the Colts? Do you remember, or did the Giants straight out cut him and he just got picked up to the Colts? I hate to throw this on you because we really don't scout the Giants.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure exactly what they did and how he got on the Colts. Honestly, I really don't remember.
Yeah, that's a story of a different day, because it's just one of those things that brought light to my attention that they exclusively brought in Christian Kirk to see whether or not he can do kickoff returns and punt returns. And guess who do kickoff returns and punt return? Cole Beasley. And then they also put Christian Kirk and say, okay, can you actually play? This is the what have you day was that down at Texas A&M station.
Had Menzel throwing him the ball.
Had Menzel throwing the ball and said, okay, line up on the outside. Can you catch ball on the outside? Now, although me personally, I'm leaning more towards of a DJ Moore guy and or a Michael Gallup or a DJ Shark. Nothing to throw at Christian Kirk because I love him to death. But I'd love to see him out there on the Cowboys, silver and blue out there running routes and stuff like that. But he is a guy that we can say, okay, what if Switz, because I seen Switz with North Carolina catch the ball on the outside. And as long as Cole Beasley played with Tony Romo, his first time ever catching the ball on the outside, go back, look at film, guys, was against the Chicago Bears, and he made this. Dak Prescott was able to get him the ball on the outside.
Yep, and he kind of he caught it right at the goal line, right? I think he scored on it. He rolled into the end zone.
Right. I think the NFL hated on him. They was like, you hit the one or something like that.
I remember that play.
That was his first time ever catching the ball on the outside, believe it or not.
And that's exactly what I was saying when people were like kind of trying to destroy Linehan. And trust me, I'm not an advocate of our coaching staff. I think we make a lot of bonehead decisions. But I think part of that is we play in Jerry land, and I think Jerry is the pseudo coach, really. And everybody else is just his assistant coach and his voice, but he is the coach, really. And I don't think people give that enough credit. So sometimes when you see Jerry not fire Garrett over, after a certain season, you say, well, why isn't Garrett fired? Only they know what decisions were really made by Jerry and what weren't. So sometimes Jerry might say, hey, put this guy here, and Garrett just listening to him. So, you might not get the same outcomes, and Jerry knows that. So that's probably why he's not pulling the trigger where people say he should. But as far as Linehan and Beasley is he limits the offense because of he's great route runner, but I think defenses has caught up to him. They play him inside out. They'll play a linebacker inside him. They play a safety keying in on the flat outside of him. So no matter which way he cut, he got people on him. That's what they did to him. They bracket covered him all year.
Yeah.
They did that to him all year. And then on top of that, you can't move him anywhere. You can't put him outside to switch that up. You can't break that up, And then if you put Dez in his position, they just say, we're going to play Dez the same way. We're going to play him inside out. So because he good on breaking routes too. So he good on out routes or in routes. So it's like, okay, so now what?
And they sit right down that route, and then guess what? If Beasley had the vertical speed, or he can do a fade, or
he run right up the seam.
He right up the seam one time, and they say, you know what? We can't dedicate that guy to come smash down on the top of him now.
Yep.
Now we got to respect that. And it was just like 2 games. I looked back at that film, and it was just 2 games that we saw where the number 2 receiver got out, and that was the Arizona Cardinals game. Number 19 had a whirl of a game, and it was the Kansas City Chiefs game.
With T-Will,
showed out and showed up, and that's how he's supposed. T-Will, that's how you want your your number 2 receiver to play. When you have your guy, everybody focus on Dez, you want the opposite guy to eat, and pretty much everybody should eat on that side. And then, but when you got that disguise coverage and you bracketing the little guy, and everybody's saying, well, why Cole Beasley not making the numbers that he did in 2016? Because think about this, in 2016. Cole Beasley, in 2015, 14, and beyond, and before that time frame, Cole Beasley was utilized, but he wasn't utilized like that. You know what I mean? And now people say, okay, I got tape on him. We just smashed down on top, inside, outside, like you said.
They just go. They looked at the film and saw what was successful against him. Cole Beasley's a quick, shifty guy, but he's not like. See, they try to use him like Wes Welker, and those guys are Julian Edelman, and the scheme is different. The scheme in New England and the scheme with Peyton Manning and even with a Tony Romo, those types of guys are good for those types of quarterbacks. An audible quarterback, a guy that has good pre-snap judgment, can play with a Cole Beasley because they'll see something and then they'll move them and tell him what to do right then and there on the line. So he's like the Swiss Army knife for a smart quarterback. When you have a young quarterback, young quarterbacks usually lean on the middle of the field. They want their tight ends to be good. Now, right now, Witten, and I love Witt, but Witten can't separate to save his life right now. So Dak doesn't really lean on Witten. when he's in trouble. And I think that's what kind of led to Dez's demise this year.
Yeah, and think about this: when Tony Romo was there, we was leaning towards like, okay, let's go to the 11
close some of these other windows.
Oh, okay, that's good. That's good.
Make it easy.
Yes, indeed. So that 11 personnel was everything, man. We just don't.
There we go.
Yeah, you can hear me now.
Yeah, I had too many windows open, I guess.
It's all fuzzy, good, man. Look, man, when we talk football, man, we can talk football all night. I know you probably have a busy schedule later on, but, man, I'm telling you, man, it's just one of those things. When you're talking about a young quarterback like Dak Prescott, and you got him thinking, you take away his first read because 9 out of 10, they were saying that pretty much Tony Romo reads from his further receiver out inward, right? Dak would read from his further receiver inside and then out. You see what I'm saying? In which he really didn't even have the time nor the fortitude or the wherewithal to really say, okay, this is my third or fourth read. Because when you take his first 2 reads out, it's kind of like a kid just first time ever at I guess not Wallet World, but Chick-fil-A, not Chick-fil-A. What's the name of that place?
Dave & Buster's?
Well, grown man first time at Dave & Buster's. Shoot, we everywhere. We're going to say, man, we're going to get drunk. We're going to go here. We're going to go there. But it's like a kid the first time at Chuck E. Cheese. They got all these lights going, and they don't really know which way to go. And that's what happened. And I'm not trying to make an excuse for Dak Prescott. But what I'm saying is collectively, when you're talking about that pre-snap read, if he don't develop that during this offseason, if he don't develop a touch on his throw and work on his back shoulder fades, we will see some of the same things from last year.
Oh, yeah, he'll be in trouble. But I think Dak more so, and I think the thing that we need him to be this year with a healthy Zeke, if we have a healthy Zeke, we don't need Dak to be a world beater. We don't. He's already proven we can go 13-3 without him being that. He does need a lot more easy reads, and I think that comes from putting more speed on the field around him and Dez. Dez has always been and is a possession game breaker type receiver. He's never been I'm a run right by you type guy. He's not that guy. Never been a Mike Wallace where when Mike Wallace came in the league, people 20 yards off of him or Deshaun Jackson type guy. He's not that guy. He's a work underneath, catch a slant, break a tackle, go all the way type guy. He still is that. So what Dez needs around him is what T. Will was when he first came in the league, and that's a guy that can stretch the field. He stretched the field, and Dez work everything underneath. T. Will only get 3-4 receptions, but he in that game with 60, 70 yards and a touchdown because he was the deep threat. Sort of like when you watch Watson in Houston. I know you down there in Texas, so watch Watson in Houston with DeAndre Hopkins alongside that kid from Notre Dame. I forgot what his Floyd.
I forgot his name, but he ran like a
4-3
as well.
And all year he was getting 1-2 receptions all year, but it'd be like, a 50-yard bomb touchdown, another 50-yard touchdown, but he wouldn't get the ball again, and that's what we need. We need a guy that could just straight run on the other side of Dez, because that makes you have to respect that side of the field and respect it with a safety over the top. And when you do that, you can't double cover but so many times across the field, so you got a guy on the side, you're going to double Beasley and you're going to double our speed receiver, Dez.
Yes, indeed. So we can go as far as Ezekiel Elliott goes, but think about this too as well. You try to load up the box, they're gonna get anxious because you don't want nobody to demoralize you, right? Just running, pounding the ball 5-6 yards of carry. You want to be able to creep and cheat the safety down into the box. Yeah. But now if you got a guy that can just really take the top off or do vertical seams, that's why I was saying like a Hayden Hurst or somebody like that, another tight end who can really stretch the field would be nice.
You know what I think?
Rico
too, yeah. You know what I think would eliminate that idea though of people loading up the box on us? RPO, man. Run the RPO a lot more than we run it. You can't load up the box against the RPO. You got to have just sound discipline on your defensive ends. Play the edges right, but you can't load up the box on it because we can always be passing out of that formation. So
is Jason Garrett willing to? And I noticed Scott Linehan. Are they willing to do that though?
I mean, if you watch the film of Dak, like even if you watch the film I made, I watched the ones you've done. Dak is always successful running the RPO. Always. He doesn't make bad decisions out of it because he's used to it. So he's comfortable doing it. I think the play against Arizona, where he ran and he flipped over 2 guys into the end zone, he scored on that play. But that was an RPO play, I believe. When we started the season out, it was a series where we ran it, and he just went all the way up the field with the RPO. So I said, Dak is comfortable running it because he's not a running quarterback per se, but if he sees that lane, due to the fact that he's running a scheme that allows him to read better, and it makes the reads easier, So I think that gives Dak all the versatility he'll need, and especially him being young. And then later on, he'll learn, sort of like Cam Newton did. He'll learn to pick you apart over time. But right now, he's just not there, and I don't think he needs to be if you play a scheme that suits his strengths. And I think RPO is just that. Look at what we did. What the Eagles did with Foles. Foles first started playing in that Rams game, and it looked so good. But they adjusted the offense to suit him, and they ran an RPO with him too. So they adjusted the offense to suit him, and this made his reads easier. If you know what your linebackers are going to be doing on every play, because they're keying in on that run, no matter what, they got to look at it. Even if they got to slow down and at least look, especially if it's Zeke, they got to look. If matter of fact, right now, if it's Olawale, Zeke, or Smith, they got to pay attention to it. So if those linebackers are being sucked in, that opens up those dig routes and those breaking routes deep middle of the field at 15 yards back. And those teams that we play that don't have marquee safeties ain't gonna be able to stop that, man. They ain't gonna be able to stop that.
Man, that's some deep stuff, man. I'm definitely gonna look at some of that stuff, man, all together collectively. But that's some good talk, man.
Definitely.
Man, we got to do this more often, man. I don't know your schedule for the rest of the week or what you're doing throughout in the future.
Yeah.
But we definitely have to hit up some more and talk some more football about this topic. But in closing, I always like to say this in closing. What do you see this team at and next year, and what do you really, really think that they really need to do all together this offseason to make it happen?
I think we get a little more creative on offense, number one. Find ways to get your playmakers the ball. I mean, that's always been the name of the game since I can remember. So we do that offensively. I'm putting that on Linehan and Garrett. And then defensively, shore up that linebacker position. Let us get some depth at linebacker and run a scheme that keeps Sean Lee from having to deal with those big guys down in the middle of the field. And Sean Lee always gets hurt because he's not the type. He's a free-flowing linebacker. He's not a linebacker you want. He's a true cover 2 linebacker. He's not a linebacker you want, getting down there and dirty with no guards that eat men alive. He's not that guy. You see him, he kind of skates through linemen. He never takes on a block and just knock him dead. He's not that guy.
Damn, I miss Romo McClain, man. Damn, I miss that guy.
Yeah, Londo's that boy. I like that. So we need another guy like him in the middle. We need a guy that could be that black hole.
So let them know, man. Let the masses, let everybody know, man. Where can they find you at?
AKOYE Media on YouTube. I'm usually releasing videos probably every other day now. I've been getting a little faster at it. So that's AKOYE Media on YouTube. And I also do a show with Tice, our West Coast Cowboy, on Facebook every Wednesday, and that's Dallas Cowboys Scouting on Facebook. So either or you can find me, and hopefully I'll be a mainstay with Law Nation as well because I love your work, love what you do. So as to answer your question, my availability, as long as it's usually like later in the evening after 7, I'm usually free because I'm a family man. So I got my kids. I can't really do too much running the streets at night. So yeah, I'm always available. So, hopefully I see you again, man, and I definitely appreciate you having me on. And I love talking football with you, man.
Yes, indeed, man. And we might have to dibble and dabble into this boxing, man. How you like my guy Crawford, man, Terrence?
Yeah, Crawford, man, he gonna be a mainstay for a long time because he's fundamentally sound, and he one of the guys out there that can hit with both hands. He knock you out with his left, his right, his pinky, his elbow, don't matter. He knock you right out, man. So and he got the heart for it. If you say you want to bang, I remember a guy, I think Hank Lundy said he was going to knock him out. He went right at, and Hank from Philly. I like Hank. I know Hank. I know Hank Lundy. He went right at Hank, Been right at him, went toe to toe with him, and knocked him clean out. So I respect Bud, man. Bud is the guy.
Bud is the guy. Off air, you were telling me about the polish, man. Give me that analogy again before we run, man. I like to hear that.
I mean, that's in all sports, but you got, my trainer used to say in boxing, he said you got shoe shiners and you got a shoemaker. Now, a shoe shiner can shine a shoe and make it look new, but he can't make a shoe. A shoemaker can polish a shoe, but he can also build it from scratch and take. And what I mean by that is a good coach or trainer can take any guy and build them up with their skill set and make them something or somebody. Sort of like a custom model with a Mike Tyson, you know what I mean? He can take our Bill Parcells with the group of guys he had out there.
Right.
So, those guys can take you and play to your strength and still find a way to win with your skill set. Whereas a shoe shiner just is a guy that can get you in shape and make you fast. He make you look good at the combine. He make you look good at the weigh-in. But they're not guys that when it comes to strategy are telling you how to think and behave as a boxer or as a football player. They can't do it. They're not those guys because they're not like, the same thing with a guy who can detail a car versus a guy who worked at Ford Motor Company and can build a car. A dude that worked at Ford Motor Company can definitely detail it, but he can also build it. The detail, he can't.
That's conscious mind right there, man. Now you guys woke, man. I'm telling you guys, this guy got some knowledge in his head, man. So that's what I'm talking about right there, man. So, hey, that's all the time we have for today, man. I really thank everybody for tuning in to the show. It's been remarkable, man, for watching these people get out here and talk football and watching this guy like this, man, AKOYE. If you don't follow this guy from right now, I don't know what you guys are doing. But go and follow his page. His guy got some remarkable stuff, man, out here. That's all the time I have for today. I really thank you guys for yours. And remember, you're listening to nothing but the best. Salute. We out. Peace.
Appreciate you, bro.
Yeah, I appreciate you too.